I've always felt connected to nature from a very early age. My primary home was in a suburb of Montreal, but my family had a country home in Vermont. In Montreal, I remember growing bean plants on my bedroom windowsill, which I had started from dried beans from my mother's kitchen. But in Vermont, I truly thrived, always outdoors, wandering the countryside, forests, and lakefront. I especially loved horses, and I was fortunate to have my own. First, a young filly, and then a buckskin mare. The horses were given as consolation for having to give up ballet, my other childhood love, as the ballet schedule conflicted with our family time in Vermont. Right after I married my love and soulmate, Roger, we purchased 30 acres, along with another couple, 5 miles outside of the small town of Smyrna, to live our dream, building our rustic home and living close to the land. We spent the first summer living in tents and learning step by step how to build. We performed every aspect of the construction with our own hands, along with occasional help from a few equally inexperienced friends, plus a couple of mentors. Foundation, framework, electric and plumbing, roofing, etc. We lived with no electricity for about 6 months, hauled water from a spring for flushing toilets, used kerosene lanterns at night, and a wood stove for heat. We had horses, pigs, goats, ducks, dogs, cats, and grew vegetables, made our own bread, and lived extremely frugally, as we had very little income but never wanted more than what we had. These were some of our most cherished years. After 10 years in Smyrna, when our oldest son was about to begin kindergarten, we decided to move closer to civilization. We built our home where we currently live in Hamilton. By this time, Roger had a construction company, so I wasn't involved in the physical construction other than design. It was difficult to say goodbye to our first home in Smyrna, but once we knew where we were headed, it was easier. Our Hamilton house was also built with nature as our guide. We built a pond on our property, a large 2-story solarium to accommodate my collection of dozens of houseplants, and large windows overlooking the forest and pond. In the 40 years we've lived in this house, I've become an avid gardener. Recently, I hosted a garden tour for our garden club in which I shared how I learned to garden in harmony with deer. After years of unsuccessfully fending off deer, I removed some of my favorite plants which the deer were most attracted to and replaced them with deer-resistant plants, over 80 different varieties, no longer requiring me to apply gallons of smelly deer repellent. Now I can enjoy both the deer and my gardens. Roger and I built several nature paths on our property. The paths keep us engaged, grooming the trails, adding native wildflowers and some trees, while attempting to keep invasives at bay, mowing and applying wood chip mulch. The trails served as a refuge during COVID and now a nurturing place to walk our dog every day. I was also tasked with developing trails for Madison Lane Apartments, where I was director for 20 years. We had acquired several acres of wetlands, meadow, woodlands, and orchard, along with the land needed to build additional apartment units. Trail development was an assignment that I embraced, and for 2 or 3 years I was passionate about designing the trail routes, applying for grants, overseeing volunteers, and realizing the dream of creating new nature paths open to the public in the village of Hamilton. When I retired, the board of directors surprised me with a sign naming the wetland trails in honor of me. There could not have been a better retirement gift. Nature has also been my inspiration in my artistic endeavors. I paint watercolors, mostly of my flowers or other natural elements, and weave baskets from plant fibers I've collected in my gardens and from wildflowers. Photography is another way I attempt to capture the beauty I see around me. Being outdoors in nature is a vital component of my mental health. I use gardening as therapy when life has its bumps, rejoice in the beauty of nature, and try to reproduce some of this in my art. I find weaving baskets from foraged materials serves as a form of calming meditation. I guess one of my meaningful legacies is being able to share my love of nature with my family, seeing my grandkids' joy in selecting flowers for my garden and arranging their own bouquets, watching them build fairy houses on our property, and exploring our trails has been so gratifying. I hope that throughout their lives, they will find solace in nature as I have.